All right, so this is Andrea. She runs Shanks with me, and we are an awesome team. And we're gonna talk a little bit about the idea that you absolutely need a school degree or diploma to get out of a situation that is painful. Like, we're talking literally destroying your happiness,
your health,
your mental health. And I am of the opinion, and maybe Andrea, you have a different one, but I am of the opinion that nowadays we live in a day and age where you can, if you really want, and you have skills, and you have drive, and you have determination, you can make a living based on the value you create yourself independently from someone paying you a salary. And that there is the key difference. You're self-employed, or you're a business owner, meaning you get to make the rules.
So does it happen right away?
No, it doesn't. Most likely it does not. Fortunes and prodigies are not made overnight. It helps a lot when you have a certain time that you give yourself to get to a point where you can feed yourself from what you're doing. And that requires most likely some form of savings, or you don't have to do it overnight. You can gradually progress into self-employment. You can, tell your job, well, I'm gonna be part-time for a while, and then you progress into that as you can afford it.
Well, I think a lot of people wrestle with the idea of having to suffer just a little bit longer after they're already not happy with their circumstance or situation. And I remember with a lot of transitions in my life, there was so much preparation that came beforehand. And if you look at that preparation as a means to an end, then I think it's okay. But why is it that a lot of people don't go the full mile? Why do people get stuck in that transition, or why do they never begin the transition?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point that you bring up, the unwillingness to suffer more. But a good strategy there is to ask yourself, what is the bigger evil, really? Is it worse for me to kind of live on a tight budget for a few years, or is it worse to continue working in this job or in this situation you are in, and you know that you'll never find a way out, or it just keeps getting worse and worse? Pick your poison.
What kind of mental fortitude do you need to withstand that transition? Like, how can people be more prepared?
Yeah, that's a good question. When you are an employee and you have been one for years and years and years, you just are used to having someone else wire money into your account on a regular basis. You don't have to worry about whether there's business or not. You just get your money, and having to let that go and having to be okay with income being a thing that fluctuates in life, that is very tough, because most humans really welcome stability and predictability, and they don't want that. It's stressful, but it is something that you get used to. So knowing that you will get used to it, and it will become a very normal thing for you. Because the beautiful aspect of fluctuating income is that in some months you have a big paycheck, as big as you would probably never have in your career as an employee. I mean, I remember one of our best months, we made close to $30,000 in 1 month. Well, that would never happen for most people being employed. So you have a $30,000 month, well, then you can compensate for a few months where the income is lower or maybe even negative. And that is something that happens in business as well. You have negative months and it's normal. And you just have to be okay with that mentally. That's part of the journey.
So I think there's two things that you mentioned. Well, or two things I take away. One is, I think the story's a little bit different when you're solo. Either you don't have a family or you're single and you don't have so many changes that changes for everyone is one thing. But the other is, and this is where we can extrapolate beyond just this particular situation, and that is being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because there's a greater goal behind it. So with whatever change you're making in your life, whether it be an occupational change or in your academics, or shifting something major in your life, some major life event, these transitions aren't always comfortable, but they can be made smoother with preparation. And a lot of it is so much of preparation of the mind. And that's what I think a lot of people, they're just...
Yeah, absolutely. With preparation and also with creating a set of circumstances where you have time, where you can afford to be patient. Because
that's a good one.
Most likely you will not be able to sustain yourself in your first year of business. Most likely it will take 2 to 3 years until you get to a level that you would call comfortable. But I want to go back towards this idea of people thinking that they need a certain diploma or degree to be in business. And I want to be very clear, I am a huge believer in education. I love education, and I think it is very valuable, and I think if you can have it, get it. But I also want to be very clear that it doesn't mean that if you don't have a degree or don't have a diploma, you are not able to be in business for yourself. There's absolutely no necessary correlation there. You can be a very smart individual just because you are. You can be a very skilled individual just because you are. And if you find the discipline and the drive and determination to make it work, you can make it work. Again, I'm not advocating for not going to school, but I'm telling you, if you are in a situation where it hurts and you are mentally and physically sick and you think that your education level is a blocker, well, it shouldn't be.
That's a good one. I think we're conditioned by society to believe that we need that, or we have to stay in our situation because there's nothing that we can do. And that's just simply not the case. But I do think that you want to carefully examine the kind of person that you are at, as well as your phase and stage in life. So yes, everyone can accomplish what they set their minds to if they are a doer, and that's something that you talk about often, about being a doer. Talk to us a little bit about the personality type that you have to make it without a degree and be successful.
Yeah. Well, you just gotta be driven by the outcome, driven by your success, whatever that is, the sale, the client, the contract. That just needs to be your prime goal, and it needs to be such a obsession that you forget all the reasons and excuses why it might not work. You literally forget it. For example, you might decide that you know quite a bit about negotiation because you've been in a profession where you have dealt with a lot of people that have opposing opinions, and now you say, okay, I can teach business owners how to negotiate contracts, for example. Now, many people would tell you, well, for that you need to have a PhD in human psychology, and you need to have this and that, and you need to be certified, and here and there. Or you can know that for a fact you have these skills and capabilities, and you want to find a person in need that needs your services and that will pay you for that. The moment, and something you need to realize is that when you are out there in the professional world, in the business world, and you are looking for clients, hardly anyone will ask you to produce a certificate or degree. A lot of people will ask for references, and we are all there. We have all been there where we start at zero and we don't have any references. So one way around that is to do some pro bono or some very affordable work to get your first references in. But that is what people will pay attention to much more than your degree. And that's just knowing and understanding that you know, if I'm someone who's looking for guidance in my negotiations with other business owners, and I meet a person that says, I can help you with that, I am going to pay attention to, can I relate to this person? Do I trust this person? The way that person presents herself, does that give me the impression that they can do it? They have what it takes to help me. That's all I care about. And if I am trusting enough that I believe there is a shot at this being the case, then I might open my wallet and pay for that service. Okay, and that is just something in all that I said right now. Nobody ever asked for a diploma. That is just something in your mind. Okay, the difference between being self-employed and being an employee somewhere is that you decide whether you are qualified or not someone else. And someone else, an employer, has a tough time going out into the choice of candidates, and they kind of think, well, if the person has been vetted by a school, chances are that they are more qualified than the person who hasn't gone through school. And maybe in many cases that is the case. But you are not an employer. You know yourself. You know yourself, you know your skill set, you know your worth. And we live in times where you can take that worth, put it out there into the market, and see if someone is willing to compensate you for it. Take me, for example. I'm leading this company that has generated close to $600,000 this year, and I only, quote unquote, only have a bachelor's degree right now. If you ask people who are in HR departments, they would most likely say, well, in order to do that right, you got to have an MBA at least, and this and that. But you really don't. You just need to have the skills to make it happen. And I have asked myself many, many times, do I want to go and get an MBA for myself or for society's validation, I don't know. Well, who knows? Maybe at some point I will do it, but I don't really need to, which is why I keep finding out that I don't need to. Because nobody's gonna ask me as the CEO and founder of this company, where is your master's degree? You know. So
Which I ironically do have, and
yeah,
it's, make no mistake, we're not undervaluing the degree, because the
no,
degree
not at all.
has, inherent value in that you worked hard, and that's what that shows. But what Shankar is talking about is working hard, being the doer, being the degree itself. Going through life and applying all of the knowledge that you have learned over the years, or in your field for 20, however many years, or whatever, applying it and using that as the cornerstone of building your future. And a lot of times people seek that degree to validate what they may already know. You should probably have an interest in the degree that you're doing anyway. So that in itself tells us that you're capable of doing it. But there's different kinds of people in the world, and some choose to go after the paper and some don't. But at the end of the day, what matters is that you are a doer. Yeah. And that's what people are going to see. That's what you're going to see, and you eat from the fruit of your own hands.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going, in that direction. Where it matters, of course, you've done the work, you've gone through all the courses, blood, sweat, and tears and all of that. But there are degrees of life that people make as well, and they use it to the fullest.
Yeah. Listen, this is supposed to be a message of hope and of letting you know that if you are the person who has the drive, you can absolutely make it happen. And I'm gonna wrap this conversation up with giving you a few examples of people that I personally know that have really made it far, that have typically immigrated into a different country, and that now lead very comfortable lives doing things that you don't need a degree for. Okay, so here are the examples. First person I can think of bakes cupcakes. You can bake cupcakes and sell many of them and make a comfortable living. The next person I can think of is a seamstress. Yeah, maybe over the course of your life, you have taught yourself to, what's the verb there? To make clothing?
To iron? To seam?
To seam, yeah. And sell your items. There are fitness instructors. There are coaches for scuba diving. There are coaches for expeditions into the mountains. There are all kinds of coaches to learn how to extend your endurance in mountain biking. I mean, there's so much that you can do that nobody will ask you, hey, do you have a diploma for cupcake making? No. If you rock at that and you know how to sell those online with your Instagram account or however you choose to do that, you can absolutely make it happen. And this is for the person that has to make the decision between staying in a place of hurt that inevitably is going to make them crumble and become mentally and physically sick, or making a plan that within the next 5 years you're gonna set yourself up to slowly have an income based on those activities that make you happy again.
So be comfortable in the uncomfortable, be a doer, and don't give up.
That's it for today.
That's it for today.
Thank you, Andrea, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
All right, bye.